Most people think being quiet means being shy, but for some, it's something deeper. You don't avoid people because you're afraid of them. You avoid them because small talk feels meaningless. You don't zone out, you dive in. Your silence isn't emptiness, it's exploration. You're not just an introvert, you're a deep thinker. You analyze everything: emotions, patterns, motives, even silence itself. While others rush to respond, you pause to understand. You don't live on the surface, you live in the layers. And that's what makes you different. You're not detached, you're observant. You don't talk less because you have nothing to say. You talk less because you're still thinking it through. People might mistake your quiet for indifference, but the truth is your mind never rests. You notice what others overlook, you sense what others ignore, and you connect dots no one else even sees. That depth makes you misunderstood by most, but magnetic to the few who can match your pace. Before we begin, make sure to subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind, where we explore the psychology, sensitivity, and secret strengths of deep thinkers and introverted minds. And if you're one of those rare souls who live more in thought than in noise, comment quiet depth below so I'll know you're part of the few who think deeply, feel deeply, and move through the world with silent understanding. You overanalyze everything, even the things most people overlook. You don't just see, you decode. Every word, every pause, every shift in someone's tone becomes data to your mind. Where others move on, you rewind. Where they react, you reflect. It's not anxiety, it's awareness. You're wired to notice the details that most people miss, the patterns hidden beneath small moments. It's not something you turn on, it's something you are. Your brain doesn't stop at what happened. It asks, why did it happen? What did it mean? What does it reveal? You pick up on contradictions, mixed signals, hidden meanings, the unspoken layers that live behind people's words. It's not about suspicion, it's about truth. You see how people's energy shifts when they lie, how silence speaks louder than answers, how intentions echo long after conversations end. This depth of thinking can feel like both a gift and a curse. Your mind never sleeps. Even in quiet moments, you're replaying scenes, dissecting emotions, connecting dots that others never even noticed existed. You remember small details, how someone's tone changed mid-sentence, how their eyes looked away for just a second, and that memory stays with you like a file you can't delete. To others, it might seem like overthinking, but to you, it's how you make sense of the world. You don't just experience, you interpret. That's why you often understand people better than they understand themselves. You read the energy behind words, the story behind behavior, the truth behind masks. But this constant analysis comes with weight. It's exhausting to live in a mind that never stops searching for meaning. You crave simplicity, but your brain keeps turning every moment into a map. You wish you could just let things go, but deep thinkers rarely can, not because they're stuck in the past, but because they're searching for the lesson inside it. And that's the paradox. What others call overthinking is actually your form of understanding. It's how you grow, how you protect yourself, how you find truth in a world full of noise. You see more because you feel more, and though it's heavy at times, that insight is what makes you rare. You're not just observing life, you're studying its soul. You need solitude, not to escape people, but to process your thoughts deeply. You don't disappear because you dislike people. You disappear because you need space to breathe, to think, to understand. Solitude isn't loneliness for you, it's restoration. It's where your mind can stretch without interruption, where thoughts that were half-formed in noise finally come together in silence. Most people see being alone as emptiness. You see it as clarity. The moment you step away from the chatter, your mind starts building ideas, insights, connections that only appear when the world quiets down. Solitude is your sanctuary, not your escape. It's where your mental fog clears and your emotional compass resets. You're not running from people, you're recharging from their energy, because being around others, even good people, fills your mind with noise. You absorb their moods, their words, their emotions, and before you know it, your thoughts start to blur with theirs. So you retreat, not out of avoidance, but out of awareness. You need stillness to separate your truth from the world's influence. In solitude, you process everything the surface world ignores. You replay moments not to dwell, but to digest. You ask yourself, what did that mean? What did I feel? What did I learn? It's not that you think too much, it's that you think deeply. You search for the why behind every what, for the pattern beneath every experience. That's why your alone time isn't optional, it's essential. Without it, your thoughts feel scattered, your emotions tangled, your purpose unclear. But after solitude, you return sharper, calmer, more grounded. People sense it. Your energy feels reset, your presence quiet but steady, like someone who knows themselves in a way the world can't shake. And that's what makes you different. You don't need crowds to feel alive. You need quiet to feel real. Solitude is where you process your pain, refine your vision, and rebuild your balance. It's where you hear the things the noise of life tries to drown out, your intuition, your truth, your power. You're not escaping the world when you isolate, you're re-entering it with more awareness. Because for a deep thinker, solitude isn't an absence of connection, it's the birthplace of understanding. You find meaning in silence and see patterns where others see nothing. You've never been afraid of silence, you listen to it. Where most people get restless and quiet, you start to hear everything they miss, the pauses between words, the weight of unspoken thoughts, the rhythm of life beneath the noise. For you, silence isn't empty, it's full of answers. It's where the world finally slows down, enough for truth to surface. You've always seen things differently. When others overlook the small details, you see the connection between them. How one choice ripples into another, how people's words and actions subtly contradict, how every coincidence hides a lesson. It's not guessing, it's perceiving. You notice patterns in behavior, emotion, and energy, like a code only you were meant to read. While others rush through life, you're watching, quietly connecting threads between moments. You can sense when something's off before anyone says a word. You can feel when a situation is shifting, even if everything looks the same on the surface. That awareness is both a gift and a weight, because once you start seeing patterns, you can't unsee them. You start to notice how predictable people are, how cycles repeat, how truth always hides in silence before it's spoken aloud. This way of perceiving makes you grounded, but it also isolates you. Most people can't handle stillness long enough to see what you see. They drown in noise, constant talking, constant distraction, while you thrive in what they fear. Quiet observation. It's in those pauses that you gain perspective, insight, and emotional clarity. The silence you seek isn't just peace, it's understanding. In stillness, your intuition sharpens. You begin to decode your emotions, your relationships, and even your purpose. You see how your past connects to your present, how pain shaped wisdom, how endings became beginnings in disguise. You see the design in what others call chaos. And that's what sets you apart. While the world looks outward for meaning, you find it inward in the quiet places no one else explores. You understand that silence isn't the absence of sound, it's the presence of truth. And those who can sit in it long enough start to see life as it really is, connected, cyclical, and beautifully complex. You struggle to enjoy surface-level conversations because you crave depth. You don't hate talking, you hate wasting words. Small talk feels like static to your mind, the weather, the weekend, the usual. They don't move you. You crave something real, something that makes you feel and think. You want to know what keeps people up at night, what they dream about, what they're afraid to admit. That's where connection lives for you, in the depth, not the surface. It's not arrogance, it's alignment. Your mind is built for substance. You don't just listen to reply, you listen to understand. And when the conversation stays shallow, you start to drift. Your attention fades, your energy drops, because you're not designed for filler. You're designed for truth. You want to speak in meaning, not maintenance. That's why you often feel out of place in group settings. You watch everyone talk, laugh, and circle around topics that never go anywhere, while your mind is miles deeper, asking, what's the point behind all this noise? You feel the emptiness of performative connection, the kind that looks lively but leaves you drained. Because for you, connection isn't about how much is said, it's about how real it feels. When you finally meet someone who speaks your language, someone who thinks in layers, feels in metaphors, questions everything, it feels like air after holding your breath. Time disappears. You stop filtering. You dive straight into the depths because that's where your mind comes alive. You leave those conversations full, understood, inspired, seen. That's the paradox of being a deep thinker. You're surrounded by people, but rarely connected. You're craving souls, not voices. You're looking for meaning, not noise. And while that can feel isolating at times, it's also what makes your presence rare. You don't settle for hollow connection. You wait for the kind that transforms you. So yes, small talk drains you because your mind isn't built for survival level dialogue. It's built for soul level communication. You're not difficult, you're deep. And in a world obsessed with fast, shallow exchanges, your hunger for authenticity isn't a flaw, it's proof that you're awake in a world half asleep. You observe emotions, motives, and energy more than words. You don't listen just to what people say, you listen to what they mean. Every tone, pause, and hesitation tells you something language can't. While others hear words, you sense energy. You can feel when someone's confidence is forced, when their laughter hides tension, when their kindness masks guilt. You're not guessing, you're reading. It's like having emotional radar, tuned to frequencies others don't even know exist. You watch how people speak, not just what they say, the shift in their eyes when they lie, the way their posture stiffens when they're hiding something. You notice inconsistencies between their words and their energy, when the smile doesn't reach the eyes, when the compliment feels rehearsed. You read honesty not through language, but through alignment. When words and energy match, you relax. When they don't, your intuition sharpens. This depth of observation makes you emotionally fluent. You can sense sadness behind someone's "I'm fine" or tension behind their "it's okay." People often open up to you without realizing why. It's because they feel understood before they ever explain themselves. You reflect their emotions with empathy, not judgment, and that creates a kind of trust that words can't. But this awareness can also be heavy. You feel energy shifts instantly, even when no one else notices. You walk into a room and know who's angry, who's fake, who's sad before they speak a word. It can be exhausting to carry that much emotional information, to constantly interpret moods, to feel every hidden undercurrent. Still, you wouldn't trade it, because this perception is your quiet superpower. It helps you protect your peace, choose your people wisely, and see truth in a world obsessed with appearances. You don't need to be told someone's intentions, you feel them. That's what makes you different. You don't navigate life through noise, you navigate through energy. Words can deceive, but emotion never does. And while others get lost in conversation, you're already reading the atmosphere, quietly, deeply, accurately. You don't just listen to people, you see through them. You often replay conversations in your head, not with regret, but for insight. You don't move on from conversations easily, not because you're stuck, but because your mind is still processing. Hours, even days later, you find yourself replaying what was said, the tone, the pauses, the choice of words. Most people think you're overthinking, but you're not reliving it for guilt, you're extracting meaning. You're analyzing patterns, decoding motives, and trying to understand what was really being communicated beneath the surface. Every interaction is a story to you, and stories always have layers. You replay moments to understand not just what people said, but why they said it that way. You recall the way their energy shifted mid-sentence, the tiny hesitation before they answered, the change in their expression when truth brushed too close. These small details become clues. You're not looking for mistakes, you're studying dynamics. For you, conversation isn't just communication, it's psychology. It's data for understanding human nature. You don't replay to judge others, but to understand how emotions, timing, and truth interact. Maybe someone's harsh tone came from their own pain. Maybe a compliment wasn't flattery, but deflection. You see beyond the literal, into the emotional blueprint behind every exchange. This kind of reflection gives you quiet mastery. You learn from every word, every silence, every misunderstanding. You recognize emotional patterns, how certain people always deflect vulnerability, how others test boundaries through jokes, how truth hides in hesitation. The next time a similar situation arises, you're already 3 steps ahead, calmer, clearer, more aware. But this depth of analysis can feel heavy too. You sometimes wish you could turn it off, to stop re-examining what was said, to stop searching for lessons in every moment. Yet, deep down, you know this reflection isn't anxiety, it's growth. It's how your mind refines understanding. Every replay strengthens your emotional intelligence. Every realization sharpens your intuition. That's why people rarely fool you twice. You notice what others forget. You remember not to hold grudges, but to hold wisdom. And over time, these reflections build something powerful, a deep, unshakable awareness of people and patterns. You don't replay conversations to dwell on the past, you replay them to master the future. You think long-term while most people chase immediate gratification. You've never been drawn to shortcuts. They feel hollow. While the world runs on urgency and instant results, you're playing a slower, deeper game. You think in timelines, not moments. You don't just ask what feels good now, you ask what will still matter 5 years from now. That's what separates you. You see the architecture of life, not just the decoration. You've always known that real growth takes patience. While others chase applause, you chase alignment. You'd rather build something meaningful over time than collect temporary wins that fade as quickly as they come. Your silence, your observation, your discipline, they all serve one purpose: longevity. You're not chasing dopamine, you're crafting direction. This mindset makes you seem distant to people who live for the moment. They can't understand how you can walk away from easy rewards or stay calm while waiting for the right timing. But your satisfaction isn't tied to instant validation, it's tied to progress that lasts. You know that fast highs create deeper crashes, while steady growth creates unshakable peace. You study cause and effect. You notice how every choice, no matter how small, shapes the future in quiet ways. You think before reacting, invest before consuming, observe before judging. It's not hesitation, it's calculation. You understand that wisdom isn't speed, it's accuracy. You'd rather take one intentional step forward than 10 impulsive ones backward. This long-term vision also shapes how you see people. You value consistency over charm, actions over promises, patterns over performances. You know that time always reveals character, and you're patient enough to let it. You don't rush to trust, but once you do, it's unbreakable. You don't chase people, you choose them, carefully, consciously, and with purpose. And in your case, and their place in theirs, like you show in a world obsessed with now, you move with later in mind. You're not slow, you're strategic, you're not detached, you're deliberate. And while others burn out chasing every spark of excitement, you're quietly building a flame that never dies out. That's your secret strength. You're not trying to win today, you're preparing to endure tomorrow. Because deep thinkers don't live for the next applause, they live for the legacy. You feel emotionally older than your age, like your mind has lived many lives. You've felt it for as long as you can remember, that quiet sense that you've seen it all before, not literally, but emotionally. While others chase excitement, you're watching patterns you already understand. You read emotions like they're echoes from another time. You can predict reactions, sense heartbreak before it comes, and see lessons in moments most people overlook. It's like your soul has aged faster than your body. You don't relate easily to people your age because you feel things differently. You process deeply, love cautiously, and think from a place of perspective that seems far beyond your years. When others rush through life, you pause, observing like someone who already knows where the story leads. It's not arrogance, it's awareness, a quiet wisdom earned through pain, reflection, and empathy. Your mind carries weight, not the kind that breaks you, but the kind that grounds you. You understand people's motives even when they don't. You see through facades, not because you're cynical, but because you've studied human nature long enough to recognize repetition. Every joy, every mistake, every heartbreak feels familiar, like you've already lived its lesson in another form. This emotional maturity can be isolating. You crave depth while others chase distraction. You see purpose in struggle while others call it bad luck. You don't need constant validation or noise because you've already learned that peace isn't found in attention, it's found in understanding. Sometimes you wish you could unsee the truth, feel things more simply, live more lightly, but deep down you know your depth is a gift. It gives you clarity where others have confusion, patience where others have frustration, compassion where others have judgment. You've become the calm presence people turn to, the one who listens, who understands without needing explanation. You carry the energy of someone who's walked through many storms and learned to dance in the rain. Every scar turned into insight, every loss shaped wisdom. You may be young in years, but your spirit feels ancient, aware, steady, and untouchable. That's the paradox of being emotionally older. You see more, feel more, and sometimes stand alone, but that very solitude is where your timeless strength lives. You connect with few, but those connections are profound and lasting. You've never been interested in collecting people, only in understanding them. You don't crave a crowd, you crave connection, real connection, the kind that's built on unspoken understanding and mutual depth, not convenience or status. You'd rather have one person who truly sees you than 100 who only recognize your surface. You connect slowly, cautiously, not because you're cold, but because you know how fragile real bonds are. You read energy before you trust words. You watch how people show up when the room is quiet, when there's nothing to gain, when honesty feels heavy. You don't rush to open up, but when you do, it's with your whole heart. You give presence, not performance. And those who earn your trust feel it deeply. These rare connections often feel timeless. You can go weeks or months without talking, yet the bond never fades because it's not built on attention, it's built on truth. You value depth over frequency, meaning over maintenance. You'd rather share silence with someone who understands you than conversation with someone who doesn't. But this depth comes with a price. You feel every loss harder. When someone betrays your trust or drifts away, it doesn't just sting, it leaves an echo. Because you don't connect halfway, you connect soul first. And letting go feels like removing a piece of yourself you once offered freely. Still, you never regret it. You know that real connection, even if brief, is worth more than years of shallow company. People are often drawn to you without knowing why. Your authenticity disarms them. Your presence feels safe, grounding, and real. You listen differently. You look at people like you see them, not who they pretend to be, but who they really are. That's why your relationships, though few, tend to last. They're not built on habit, they're built on honesty, growth, and emotional resonance. You may walk through life with a small circle, but it's strong, unshakable, enduring. You don't need many people, you just need your people, the ones who match your depth, respect your quiet, and see the light you hide behind calm eyes. Because for deep thinkers like you, connection isn't about numbers, it's about meaning. Most people spend their lives trying to be understood by everyone, but deep thinkers, they know the truth. Not everyone is meant to understand you. Not everyone is supposed to, because depth was never designed to be popular. It was designed to be rare. You don't think too much, you just think differently, and that difference is your quiet power. Your mind doesn't live on the surface. It dives, you process, you observe, you connect dots others don't even notice exist. You see the meaning beneath the moment. And while that can make you feel isolated at times, it's also what makes you magnetic. People may not always understand your silence, but they'll never forget your presence. So if you've ever felt too deep, too quiet, or too much in your head, remember, that's not a weakness. It's the mark of someone awake in a world that's half asleep, someone who feels in paragraphs, not sentences, someone who sees beyond the noise. Before you go, make sure to subscribe to Brainy Quiet Mind, where we uncover the psychology, self-awareness, and quiet strength behind deep thinkers like you. And if you've watched until now, comment quiet death below so I'll know you're one of the few who understands that the most powerful minds often speak the least.